Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, YouTube. This is DIYJunkie369 here, and this is going to be the first video in my video weight loss blog. I'm going to hopefully do one about every week, and it's mainly to keep myself motivated, but hopefully I'll pass along some stuff that will help motivate you guys too. It's not quite time for the new year, but you should already be thinking about your resolutions. We're about a week out from going into 2019, and most everybody has some sort of weight loss goal, and this is mine, and I've decided I'm going to start making these videos and putting them out there. So, I don't know if you can tell, I'm 6'4", 301 pound, and I actually started my weight loss stuff yesterday, and one of it was weighing in, and yesterday I was 304, so I've managed to lose roughly 3 pounds in the past day, which really isn't healthy, but my eating style was so bad that just that one day of change has made a huge difference. And in fact, obesity in America is a huge problem right now, and I got to thinking about this more and realizing I need to make a change after watching a TED Talk on YouTube back in 2012 done by a Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. And in it, he states that obesity is a national security risk right now. There's so many obese children coming up that they aren't able to recruit anybody because they don't meet the height and weight standards, and they can't draw them into the Army because they're so bad that they can't even pass the initial test. And you might be sitting there thinking like, well, I'm not going to serve, or I'm too old. What does it matter? Well, if you have children, how you live your life and whether or not you take care of yourself impacts them. First off, we don't like to ever think about it, but bad lifestyle choices might mean you won't be around in the later years to enjoy being around your children. Or on the flip side of that, how you live is going to train them up in the way of how they're going to live. So if you make bad food choices and don't exercise, they're going to make bad food choices and not exercise. And if you don't have children, don't care about that either, you might just affect somebody that you work around or are friends with and cause them to make a life change that is going to have a huge impact on their life and their children. So I did a little bit of research because I know in my current job I sit almost all day long. And looking up on the internet, I was able to find a Newsweek article back from August 2013 that was talking about something called sitting disease. In it, it states 86% of American workers sit all day for their jobs. I'm probably one of them. Between sitting in the job and going home and watching TV and sitting, they figure the average person's spending about 13 hours a day sitting. This slows down your metabolism, and because of that, it increases your chances of obesity, diabetes, which also feeds into increased chances of cancer, specifically colon cancer, and cardiovascular diseases, and obviously eventually leading to death. Even if you were to increase your exercise because of all this sitting, you're still going to have a shorter lifespan than somebody who doesn't spend all day sitting. And those people that exercised roughly 30 minutes a day really did not have any impact that would change their increased chances of all these diseases and death. On days that you spend a lot of time sitting, you would have to go out and do something like walking, biking, hiking, or swimming. Those are the 4 exercises that are going to counteract all that sitting. And most people aren't doing these. They're going out and doing weightlifting, which is great for weight loss, and I'll probably cover it in a later video. But to counteract the sitting, you're going to have to go out and do something that has you in the standing position, or something like swimming or biking that's going to exercise the lower half of your body a little bit more on the cardio side than just weightlifting. And on those days, instead of doing the 30 minutes, if you exercise already, maybe you should bump it up to about an hour a day, and then mix in like your normal half hour of weightlifting. In fact, this article suggests that you should be getting in about 10,000 steps a day. And I had done a weight loss program before. Actually, I shouldn't say a weight loss program. They viewed it more as a lifestyle program, where as your baseline, you had to get 10,000 steps a day in addition to the cardio or the weightlifting that you were doing as your 30 minutes of exercise a day. So to help with your 10,000 steps a day, when you're at work, park further away in the parking lot. Walk further to get to your job. Instead of sending an email or text message to one of your coworkers, especially if they're in the same building, go walk over and talk to them. Or instead of making the phone call across the building, go walk over and talk to them. And then just something as simple as, if your employer will pay for it, get a standing desk. Mine bought a bunch of these a few years back, and unfortunately I did not get one at the time. I didn't really see the benefit in it, and now I wish I had. Hopefully I can go back and get one of these desks without too much trouble. And then the last thing you can do is, when you're at home, if you're going to watch TV, do it while you're standing and cooking. Or if you're in the living room, just in front of the TV, just stand up or stand every commercial. Like, don't spend all your time sitting when you're at home. Like I said, I started making changes already yesterday when I officially started this. And it's going to be a lifestyle change. It's got to be something that I'll have to continually do. You can't just diet, lose the weight, and then go back to what you're doing and expect to stay at the weight you're at. If you go back to what you're doing now, you're going to go back to the weight you are now. So it can't be a temporary thing. And then my change for this week, at least initially, is the eating style. In fact, in the video with Lieutenant General Hertling, the biggest step they took in changing how they looked at obesity inside the military and injuries related to excessive weight was to change how they fed the American soldier. So you cannot out-exercise bad nutrition. So that's going to be my first goal, is to start really paying attention to how I eat. And usually in the past, where I've seen a lot of progress as far as weight loss, it's been those times where I've tracked. Now, I hate tracking, and tracking is a real pain, but there's several things now available that makes it easy. There's a couple apps on my phone that I've used in the past, and I like both of them. The one I'm sticking to this time is going to be MyFitnessPal, who's done by Under Armour, where there's another popular one out there called Lose It. Both of these have a good key feature, which is they have a barcode scanner in them, and when you scan a package, it'll bring up the nutritional value for that food, and then you just have to put in how much you're consuming, and it tracks it for the day. And it also will log your weight and any exercise you're doing in either one of these. You can create your own meals, and you can share stuff with any of your friends that happen to use the same app. In addition to just tracking what I'm going to eat, I have tried paleo in the past, and I really like it, and so I'm going to be going back to paleo. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, paleo, all you use is meat. That's really the wrong way to look at it. The focus should be meats, fruits, and vegetables. No grains, and anything pre-made or processed. Stay away from it. That includes dairy and cheese. You should be eating mostly fruits and vegetables. That should be the high side stuff, and then mostly vegetables out of those too, because fruits have a lot of sugar. On the meat side, you can eat a fair amount of meat, but you want to focus on lean meats like chicken, turkey, fish, and kind of stay away from the bacon / beef side of the house. Bacon and beef isn't that bad, and you shouldn't view fat as a bad thing. It's just that you'll see a lot better results eating the lean meats. Now, that being said, fat is very important. It actually makes you feel full. It should not be something avoided, and what people are running in today is there's a lot of push for low-fat food items. Well, once they suck the fat out of that, they add in a whole bunch of sugar for that process. And it makes you feel hungry after you've eaten the amount of food that you should be consuming. And because you're still hungry, you go and consume more, and then you're going to gain weight, because weight loss is a very simple equation. It's the calories coming in have to be less than the calories going out. If it's the opposite, you're going to gain weight. But you don't want to just consume any calories. You've got to consume good calories, and that's where the paleo diet is really key. Another thing that I'm going to be doing is getting those 10,000 steps a day. This one's going to be pretty hard for me. Currently, I've been tracking my steps, and I barely average 3,000 steps a day probably. For that, you're going to need some sort of pedometer. There's usually, if you have a smartphone, you can download an app that will keep track of it on there. If you don't have a smartphone, you can go and get one from Walmart or offline. I've seen them as cheap as $1 now, and the more expensive ones cost about $20. What my wife and I do is we have activity trackers, so they'll track more than just walking. I prefer the Garmin. It seems to be a little bit more accurate. She uses the Fitbit, and I've researched it, and there's been some complaints about it's not as good as the Garmin on tracking how many stairs you cover or how many steps you take, and usually you end up with a few extra 100 steps maybe that you didn't actually walk. Another thing I'm going to start doing is trying to drink more water. A lot of people don't get enough water. You're supposed to be drinking 8 to 10 glasses a day, which is roughly, I think, 48 to 64 ounces. Now, it's interesting that people don't think about it, but if you're slightly dehydrated, your metabolism actually slows down to try to compensate for that lack of water, because water is the base for every chemical reaction that takes place in the body. Now, my personal goal is I'm going to try to drink a gallon a day. That's 128 ounces. Usually I'm able to easily drink 72 ounces a day, and I feel like I need to increase that a little bit. Last action I'm taking is I'm going to bump my sleep up. Everybody out there should be getting at least 8.5 hours of sleep, and probably closer to maybe 8.5 to 10 hours of sleep, depending on what suits you, but minimum 8.5. That's another thing where people think, oh, well, I'm awake, I'm going to burn more calories. Well, maybe only if you're actually doing something while you're awake. The downside is, with the lack of sleep, that's another thing that causes your metabolism to slow, and then you stop losing weight. Last bit that I suggest, if this has motivated you to take some sort of action, is you're going to have to get a scale. We all hate them. I definitely hate stepping on them. But you need some way to track what is going on. As you lose weight, you're going to have to adjust your calorie intake, so that's a pretty important thing to track. I actually have a smart scale that connects to my phone, and you can start getting these now off of Amazon for about 20 bucks. And this one's great because not only will it put my weight on my phone, but it also will tell me my BMI, how much muscle mass I have, how much water is present in my body, and that's a really great tool. That's one of the things that's been showing me I need to consume more water. I'm a little bit still on that dehydrated side. Well, I hope you like my first video. Like I said, I hope to make one every week, and if you have some sort of topic you want me to try to cover in the next week's video, please let me know down in the comments, and make sure to subscribe. I don't know if it's an option on YouTube, but I'm thinking about making these weight loss videos like a subscription only type thing. For all you guys out there trying to lose weight, good luck. It's the holidays. It's going to be really tough, especially for me with all the cookies and cake and everything else. Being on paleo, I can't eat any of that. So I'm definitely not looking for the holidays, but the results coming out of the other side of the holiday season are going to be fantastic, and we'll all have a jump on those guys that are waiting until January 2nd to start their resolutions.